It's not possible.
I didn't say it would be easy, Neo.
Good morning. Can y'all hear us?
Are y'all ready for him, ma'am?
Yes. We're going to go ahead and do our preliminaries while you bring him in.
Roseanne Fox.
Superior Fox and Delta.
Committee on Parole is called to order to December 14th, 2020.
Go ahead and Sidarian Fox out of Delta.
My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. Seated with me today in Baton Rouge is Mr. Alvin Roche and Mrs. Bonnie Jackson. I'd like for staff here at DOC headquarters to introduce themselves for the record.
Hello. We do transfer.
And our first remote location this morning is at Rapides, DC number 3. Would staff at DC 3 please introduce yourself for the record?
Hey.
Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir?
It's Corporal Gilmore, Rapides Parish, attention to the 3.
All right. Thanks, Corporal, for accommodating us today.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Mr. Fox ready?
Yeah, we got them coming up now.
Okay. While we're bringing him in, let me just acknowledge we have some guests that will be participating. Rakesha Wells, Mr. Fox's mother, and Miss Alma White, his great-grandmother. We also have Mr. Alan Smith, who will be representing. We'll get him to introduce himself as soon as we hear from Mr. Fox.
Hey, man.
Is the camera is moving around on us?
I thought they said they wanted to know.
Can you get it stationary?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
It must be on your portable device, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
C2, did you bring the tablet also?
Come on, Fox. They're waiting on you. All right.
A few minutes later.
Rapides, your camera is frozen. Can you hear us? There you are. There you are. Mr. Fox, is that you? Okay, I think they have you on mute. They need to unmute you.
Look at me.
There you go. There we go. Okay, Mr. Fox, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please, sir.
My name is Sidarian Fox. My DOC number is 636775.
All right, Mr. Fox, and you have counsel with you this morning, sir. Would you introduce yourself?
Yes, Your Honor. My name's Alan Smith. My address is 1100 ML King Drive, Alexandria, Louisiana. My phone number is 318-448-3234, and my cell is 318-277-1550.
Got it. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Mr. Fox, do you have the revocation questionnaire there with you this morning?
How the what?
Revocation questionnaire.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature at the bottom of that page?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me, so you've kind of been through this process before, and you see your guests that have joined us this morning, so I won't introduce them again. But let me get to, I'm going to read, as you know, I'm going to read the allegations against you. You'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then we'll have a discussion about the plea. Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. She'll take the lead on that. We'll hear from your family and your attorney, and at the end, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you'd like to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically number 4, condition number 4, which says, wait, hold on. Wait, I'm on the wrong, hold on, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong case. Here it is, condition number 13, which it was a special condition that to abide by a sex offender contract. It states you violated section 4, part 1 of the sex offender contract by having multiple active social media accounts. And that violated section 4, part 2 of the sex offender contract by having direct contact with juveniles as evidenced by pictures in your cell phone 2 days after your parole officer told you again to have no contact with juveniles, and less than 2 days after the parole board continued you on supervision after being in contact with juveniles. It further reads in that on October 4th, 2023, you slept at the residence located at 425 15th Street, Alexandria, zip code 71301, which is a prohibited entity as it has been denied as a residence plan on February 6th and April 24th, 2023, due to juveniles in the residence and a prohibited entity within 1,000 feet. How do you plead to violating condition number 13 of your parole conditions?
Not guilty.
Okay. Your case, as I said, has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer her questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Fox.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm not happy though. I did not expect to see you back here.
I know.
Well, let me stop. Let me refresh your memory. Back on earlier when you came up for your first revocation hearing, you had left your parole officer. Your mom was taking you to take care of some of your responsibilities. She had a situation that necessitated her stopping at her mother's house. There were children present in the house. There was no indication that you were in the house or knew children were inside. And so we chose not to revoke you and returned you to supervision.
Yes, ma'am.
So on that date, that last alleged violation, you knew that that was a residence that you could not be at, correct?
Yes, but this is my defense. Whenever we finished the thing, I had written letters given to y'all. Y'all had the written letters, and y'all never told. I thought whenever y'all reinstated me that the letters were accepted. That's what I thought.
Mr. Fox, we made it very clear to you that the reason you were not being revoked is because of the emergency situation where your mom had to stop at that house.
Yes, ma'am.
You had not gone into that house, and that there was no indication that you knew there was children in that house at that time. There was no reference made to any letters that anybody wrote giving you permission to be around their children. The only issue we dealt with was the fact that your mom stopped at that house, you remained outside, you never went into the house. And for those reasons, we did not feel that you were in violation. We did not discuss in any respect with you your ability to be around children, because that was not for us to do.
Well, I did ask about that the last time we were here. I just thought the letters were accepted. I had the letters. My lawyer has the letters, still had the letters.
I understand about the letters, but again, We only addressed the fact that you never went in the house and your mom was the one who stopped you. We never told you, well, if you get a letter, you can go back, because that's not, what the situation is. Also, the house that you were at was a house that was within 1,000 feet of a place you couldn't go. So you couldn't have been in that residence anyway.
The reason why, the reason with the text messages, he's saying that in my text messages that I was at that house. I never was at this house. I told someone that I was staying there because I didn't want them to know where I live. And he went off that text message. Now,
And why would you do that?
because I have people that I don't want to know where I stay at.
Well, then why would you be texting them anything? If that's the case.
I'm in a neighborhood.
Mr. Fox. What about the picture of you holding a newborn?
The picture of me holding a newborn is my little sister just had a baby, and I went to the hospital with her to see the child. And from what I was thinking was that the letters had been accepted whenever I came. That was done the week that weekend. He's saying when I went up there on the 4th that it was taken on the 4th. No, I had received that picture on the 4th because my sister sent me the picture of me holding my newly born niece on the 4th. I thought the letters had got accepted. Whenever he come to me, whenever I went to report it to him, he told me that they worked. Weeks passed from me coming to see him, and a situation happened where he ended up going through my phone and seeing the picture. I ain't never was around him after he told me I couldn't be around nobody, be around the children. It's just, I thought that the letters were accepted. And I got the letters. My lawyer still has the letters, and I've been trying to get the letters accepted.
What about the social media accounts?
I didn't know that I could not be on those. I'm gonna be honest with you. I honestly didn't know about me not being able to be on social media. If I'd have known I wasn't able to be on social media, I wouldn't have been on it. But I didn't know. I honestly didn't know, because every time we had the conversation with my parole officer, it was about the children, because this is my family I live with. These are people I'm going to see if I want to be home. I want to be able to be around them.
Mr. Fox, again, that doesn't allow you to do what the law says you can't do, even if it is your family.
Well, I'm not trying to break no laws. I report. I come see him. I'm working. I'm out the way. I'm not trying to come back to jail. I'm trying to be a productive member in society, and I'm how I'm feeling with the situation. The stipulations that have been given to me are obscene, because I'm on parole for a gun, and I'm not on parole for being a registered sex offender. When I got to being a registered sex offender, I was a tier 1. They told me, no, if I had to register for the next 10 years, they ain't never told me about these speculations. And the last couple of times I've been on parole, I haven't had to deal with these controversies. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was an addict and was in the streets, I'm not like that. And it's like I'm getting pulled back every time behind me being around my family members, and me trying to be a productive member in my family and in society.
All right.
Ms. Jackson, may I speak?
Yes.
What we're experiencing here is he doesn't really know what the term, yes, he signed a contract, but the case law is that whatever the judge tells you at the sentencing is what the terms of your probation are. That's Louisiana versus Shelby Ducote. But here, I want to just, if I may, I was retained on this case a year ago, even longer than that. It was a murder in Catahoula Parish. I went. It was in the jail cell. It was obvious that Mr. Fox wasn't involved. It was on film, so they reduced it to a misdemeanor, and he was ready to get out of jail. Well, I tell his 99-year-old great grandmother, Alma White, he's getting out of jail. His out date comes and goes. He's not out. They say that he can't live where he was living, which was with Alma White, because that's within 1,000 feet of where children are. I file a motion to clarify that, since I go to the spot and I don't see anything like that anywhere around. So I file a motion to clarify the terms of the probation. Well, we go to the hearing, and lo and behold, the probation officer shows up and says, I stand corrected. There is nothing within 1,000 feet. So I have the judge sign an order that he's going to get out. He still doesn't get out. I call probation. It turns out the probation officer that was on the case, he quit. He was no longer with them. And my client sat in 2 weeks longer after I got a hold of his supervisor, and ultimately Sedarian got out. When he gets out, and his mother will address this, he was only out. He got a job. He reported to the sex offender place. He didn't go in the house. We're talking about the incidents where he didn't go in the house. He's out front, and he gets picked up then. Well, at that point, we had submitted, and you have the letters for him to be around his nieces and nephews signed by their parents. But this is where I think we're all running into trouble. There's a contract which he signed, which I don't think is any good to begin with. What the law is what the sentencing judge tells them his sentence is. They can say they incorporate the contract into the sentence, but that's not what the case law says. All we need is he's a tier 1 sex offender. The crimes that he committed it's not some type of predacious sex offense. It's a person holds him out to be 21 years old and it consents. It's not what I would call a predacious situation. Now we got him where he's trying to get a job. He has a job. He's trying to do the right thing. He wants to be with his family. When I first met him, he said he had to get back in touch with his 5-year-old daughter who he hadn't been in touch with. Now you're telling me he can't see her, when he could all before this. And the time he was on probation before, all of this was okay. And now all of a sudden, these rules and things are he's isn't exactly sure what the terms of the probation are. That's what he's trying to tell you, I think. And what I'd like to do today is, if we can, let's meet out what exactly are the terms of his probation, whether or not he can be around children and things of that nature at a tier 1. I mean, he hasn't picked up a new crime. He hasn't been charged. He has refrained from criminal activity. The picture of him, and the case I'm citing, Shelby Cody versus Louisiana, very similar. They take a picture of someone in an egg knocking contest with a child, and they say, "Oh, well, that's in violation." He's doing his best, but he has to know what it is that he's supposed to do.
All right, Mr. Fox.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live?
I live at 2003 9th Street.
Who lives at 2003 9th Street?
My great grandmother, Alma White, and me, myself.
How long have you been living there?
I've been living there as long as since I came out the womb. It's the first house I ever.
You've always lived with your great grandmother for the most part.
The only time I did not live with her was when I first caught this. When I caught the charge that made me a sex offender. I was standing on 425-15, and that's my mother's house, and that's the other house that I was staying at, and that's the thing that's conflicting me here with with probation and parole. That's the house that my mom stays at. That's my mother. You can see that's my mom's house. That's not who I stay with, but I go to a house seldomly to take care of duties for, wash a car, stuff like that. But I stay with my great grandmother.
Okay. All right, Mr. Renata, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Is Officer Norman with us still?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you clarify? My information shows that 2003 9th Street was denied because of the Alexandria Teen Activity Center. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. I believe that address was actually the address he was supposed to be living at.
Address that I live at.
Stop talking.
Because this is, I guess, Officer Ward. The proposed residence located at 2003 9th Street, Alexandria, is 988 feet from the prohibited entity. This was in February of this year.
Yes, ma'am. If you bear with me 1 second, I'm going through my narrative.
It's the narrative, February 6th.
Mr. Randazza, Judge Randazza, that's the one that I filed the motion to clarify.
Yes, sir. Let me hear from the officer, please, sir. I'm going to just get him to clarify that for us.
Well, that's why I legally said you don't
Yes, ma'am. It was denied due to the Teen Activity Center.
Okay, and the attorney is saying that's the one that he filed the motion on, and I don't have that information in the record. So,
Yes,
so can you speak to the violations we're talking about today?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, which any specific one or just in general, ma'am?
In general.
So Mr. Fox, when he first came to the office, when we put him in jail, I explained to him when he came in and did his intake, I thoroughly went over the sex offender contract, the social media, the juveniles, thoroughly went over that with him. The first incident happened where I arrested him. He went in front of the board, didn't get revoked. When he got out, I again thoroughly went over the contract, said, until these letters get approved by the board, you cannot be around juveniles. And I also stressed no social media. And again, here we are, literally, I believe it was 2 days after he was released from the board, did the same thing.
All right, and I'm showing a signature on the sex offender contract dated, it looks like July 17th of this year, where both you and he signed. That's when you explained it all to him?
Yes, ma'am. That was the first, his initial intake. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the discussion? Mr. Norman?
No, ma'am. Other than all conditions were thoroughly gone over, I could not be any more specific about the instructions for the sex offender contract, and Mr. Fox just continues to do as he pleases.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Norman, where do you think he's supposed to live?
Ma'am?
Where do you think he's supposed to live? Is he supposed to be homeless?
Do I think he's supposed to be homeless?
If he can't live with his grandmother, he can't live in the other house, then where do you propose that he live?
Well, there's sex offender housing in Alexandria. I mean, it obviously costs money, but I mean, we have numerous sex offenders all throughout Alexandria. There's
Did
plenty
you,
of places to
did you
live.
discuss that with him?
I told him about him, but he said he didn't have any money at the time.
So, are you currently his, supervising officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Has he been working?
Ma'am, he was not out of jail long enough to really, I would say, find a stable job. He told me he was kind of working odd jobs, and I have no reason to believe he wasn't.
Was he paying fees?
Ma'am, I don't believe he was ever out of jail long enough to even really start paying.
And I assume the same thing for having been arrested for any new criminal offenses other than what we're dealing with today.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
You know, we put people with sex offenders and offenses in such difficult situations that we make it difficult for them to succeed. We cut them off from their family because they're children in their household. We restrict where they can live. I mean, we kind of put up barriers that make it almost impossible for a person to succeed.
Ma'am, I mean, no disrespect, but they committed a crime.
I
And I believe
understand that, sir. I don't need you to tell me that. I understand that.
Yes, ma'am. And as I've stated, I've supervised sex offenders in Rapides Parish alone for approximately 2 years now. And we have, I mean, I can't tell an exact number, but tons of sex offenders that find valid residences in Alexandria or surrounding areas.
All right, that's all, Mr.
No questions.
Questions? All right, Mr. Fox, is there anything you'd like to say before we turn it back over to Mr. Smith? You're on mute. Can you add?
Yeah, I have one thing to say. All I'm trying to do is be home. All I'm trying to do is not be in jail. I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson with being here. I'm not trying. I was working. I did have a job. I was working at Popeyes. He knows this. All I'm trying to do is just go home and be with my family. That's it. I'm not trying to be a criminal. I'm not trying to weigh y'all or sway y'all. All I'm trying to do is go home. That's all I'm trying to do, and go home and stay home and be a productive member in society. And it seems like the person y'all have over me is not with that. I see it. You can see it yourself. I'm trying to work here. He know he didn't tell me nothing about the social media. Every time I talked to this man, it was always about the kids. It was always about my family. It was always about me trying to stay out. And he has not tried to work with me now time with this. Yeah.
Mr. Fox, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I neglected to call on your people who are here, want to speak for you. So I'd like to do that at this time. Could we hear from Ms. Rakisha Wells?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, what do you want to tell us today?
I'm his mother, and I'm the transportation. I do everything to help him succeed. I got him a job at Popeyes. Before the first revocation hearing, he was waiting on the interview to be hired. It was never a case that he did not have stable employment. His job was guaranteed. When he got out the second time, after y'all reinstated him, he went to work. He has a check here that's uncashed from his week worth of work. He went to the board to register on the base because I took him. When we went over there, they told him that he was being wrongfully locked up, that he was doing what was right. When he got arrested this time, I gave him $60 to pay for the class for the sex offenders. He had been to the office 3 times to check in, to see what was going on, to let the net know he was readily available to him. He has his personal cell phone so he could talk to him anytime he comes for a visit, we present ourselves transparent. We were told to get letters from each child's parents stating that he could be around them, that they gave consent. We gave them to the lawyer because the parole officer, after he told us all we needed was the letters, he would put them for us the board and he would get this taken care of. It never was taken care of, but we didn't know that until afterwards. Mr. Lane told us that all he needed was the letters. When I presented the letters to him, he said it was too late. He wouldn't accept the letters. We're getting crisscross signals from the authority as far as what he can and can't do. If we known that he could not be around his immediate family's children after the letters were written, we would have never done it. This is a hardship on the whole entire family because we need Sir here. My grandmother's 98. She raised her, so she feels comfortable with him being here with her. She needs someone at the house with her. I come every morning, but I have children that I'm raising. I do what I can, but Sir would be an added benefit to this family. It might even prolong my grandmother's life here. All we want is an opportunity for him to show y'all that he's actually become a civil person and is being denied every chance we get. It initially started, the man told him that he got a phone call saying that he had parked the car at the Social Security office and walked to the parole office. And that wasn't true. No one had called. He hadn't walked from nowhere. I let him off at the door. But it's always one stipulation, then another stipulation. And when he tried to adhere to them, always brushed under the rug. The last hearing, they said, don't address the letters. They have them. They have been reviewed. When y'all didn't even, no one addressed the letters. It's like it was a figment of our imagination. Sedarian never stayed at my house once he was released. He was getting off at 11 o'clock at night from Popeyes. I would get out my bed, go get him from work, and bring him here to grandmother's house. The text message was between him and a female. She was trying to get to him. He told her he was at my house to keep her from coming to my grandmother's house. We don't allow traffic here in order to protect her. We don't want no one to just pull up here because a lot of times she's not able to get to the door to unlock it.
Right. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Wells. Is Ms. White going to say anything to us this morning?
She's here.
Good morning, Ms. White.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Not feeling too good. Kind of nervous. Blood pressure's up because of all this trouble that's unnecessary.
Is there anything you want to say to us, ma'am?
Yes, it is. I would like for y'all, when my child is trying to do the right thing, I would appreciate if y'all would accept it and help him. My child is not a sex predator. I don't know if anybody have told you, Sugar. I don't know if you're supposed to hear this. But he was 18 years old. This lady told him she was 18 years old, and she told him that she had a house, and she wanted him to come and have breakfast and so on with her. And being 18 years old, quite naturally, your son who went to the girl had told him that. And so his grandmother and step-grandfather dropped him off at the house. The lady waved by and thought it was all right. Next thing they know, the police had come. He didn't know she was 14. He didn't know he had to have her birth certificate. I just don't know what's going on, Sugar. I'm old and I don't understand it, and it is making me sick. My blood pressure's sky high.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But trying to do the right thing. He wasn't trying to do wrong when they got him for that sex offender, because that girl lied and said she was 18. Well, The poor thing didn't know he had to have a birth certificate. If he'd had it, he wouldn't have known it was the truth because they got false ones.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sugar, that's all I can tell you. But I pray that you can help him because he's trying. He had him a job. They picked him up and took his job from him. His check is right here now. Where they paid him for the time they let him work. He could have been working. Now they got letters out for what his lawyer know all that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for talking to us today. We're gonna hear from Mr. Smith now. Mr. Smith?
So you still there, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna hear from his lawyer now.
I'm sorry, and I'll be very brief. This is a case. This could be a success. This could be a guy that went and served his sentence, got out. He's all about doing the right thing. This could end up being a success story where everybody says, "Hey, I knew that guy when he was a bad guy, and now look, he's doing the, he's out there." But Ms. Jackson brought some important points. Once you're in the gravity of the thing, it's impossible to get out, particularly if you don't know what the rules are. The officer shows up and goes, "Give me your phone." Just how about if someone came to you and said, "Give me your phone"? Went through, of course, a Sudarian gave it to him. He's got nothing to hide. He goes to his phone and finds a picture of him with a newborn baby. I just, he needs some assistance in getting back where he wants to be. This guy's not. You're not going to hear from him again if you gave him another probation officer. I would ask that y'all consider reinstating him. I'd like to also, as a prophylactic, I know that his PO is going to say every time we meet, I tell him what the rules are, but I'm not so sure that the rules on a non-predator sex offender. Why can't he be around? You've cut off. You're ruining it. You've heard his family speak. This is putting everybody out. When it could be the easiest thing in the world. He goes, he gets a job. Here's what you haven't heard. His check that he got, guess where that's going to go? Straight to probation for paying probation fees. He already has to pay $60 on that. He stayed registered all these years. He's never had an offense with the registration itself, which, as y'all know, gets harder and harder every year. They go to the legislature, whatnot. He hasn't. We helped solve a crime in Catahoula Parish. I don't know what else really this guy can do. I would hate to think. Anyway, I would ask that y'all consider reinstating him.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to call for an executive session.
Second. We have a motion and second for executive session. I do agree. So we have a unanimous vote to convene executive session to discuss confidential matters.
A few minutes later.
All right, Mr. Fox. I'm willing to work with you again. All right. My vote would be to do not revoke, to continue you on supervision, to waive the objection to the 2003 9th Street, Alexandria, because it is 988 feet from a prohibited entity, the Alexandria Teen Activity Center. But I'm willing to waive that provision to allow you to live at that address. However, I am going to order that until there is an action by the board to allow you to be around children in your family or otherwise, you are not to have any contact with any children unless given specific permission by the parole board. Now, do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. But can I ask one question?
Okay, what's the question?
What would how would I go into getting that approved?
We'll handle that on our end, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Roche.
I vote to continue until everything's approved.
Okay, and Mr. Fox, I'll vote also do not revoke, continue on supervision, and authorize the waiver of the address at 2003 9th Street. Now you understand you cannot, no social media.
No social media, no children.
No children.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. That
You received 2 favorable votes. 1 vote was to continue. So today you will be not revoked and returned to supervision.
Thank you.
So that concludes our business in Rapides. We're going to sign out at 9:08. Thank you.